a lot of pent-up aggression for this episode.
I can feel it. In that episode, you were talking about your dislike for some of the choices that they've been making in Daredevil Born Again. And it seems like everyone in the comments completely disagrees with you. At least 9 out of 10 of the comments seem to be against you in they're rooting for the show. They're celebrating the show, which is awesome. I'm glad people are liking the show and liking Daredevil. But there's some things that just aren't landing for you.
I said to one of our commenters too, they were like, oh, Matt Murdock and Daredevil are the same. It's like, but the name of it is Daredevil, right? Because like Daredevil is why we came to watch the story.
Or I was on board for the first 4 episodes. I was like, all right, they're leading to something. Let's see if it pays off. Well, then episode 5 didn't pay off, and that's where I was like out, right?
I think you said before it came out that if they don't put him in the suit in that episode, then you were going to have a problem and not be able to defend it.
Welcome to Backseat Directing,
where we talk about movies, TV shows, comics, and more.
We're your hosts,
Andrew
and Aaron.
We put out new episodes every Monday and Thursday.
And on this episode, we're talking about Daredevil Born Again.
Again. 3, 2, 1, action.
I'm back, Andrew. I'm here with you. I'm here to support you this time. You did a solo episode on Daredevil Born Again last week without me. I was at work, so I wasn't able to be here with you.
One of our most successful episodes ever.
And it's blowing up. It's doing great.
You know how many people like clicked on this episode and they saw you in the opening? Welcome, and they just went,
yeah, we're gonna go. We'll rewatch Andrew's solo episode. No, but
make a cut of this episode that just removes you from it. It's just me talking to myself. alternate cut.
Yeah.
Not extended edition, shortened edition.
Yeah. But in that episode, you were talking about your dislike for some of the choices that they've been making in Daredevil Born Again. And it seems like everyone in the comments completely disagrees with you. At least 9 out of 10 of the comments seem to be against you in they're rooting for the show. They're celebrating the show, which is awesome. I'm glad people are liking the show and liking Daredevil. But there's some things that just aren't landing for you. And now for me as well.
I do think there's been a trend recently of a little bit more people on my side in my comments. And I think that's because as they put out more episodes, people are running out of the room to say what I've been getting a lot of my comments, which is let them cook.
Yeah,
hold on.
What I was saying.
Yeah. I've genuinely not liked it since the first episode. So I feel like I was just ahead of the curve. But especially when we watched those first 4 episodes, I was really building up a lot of resentment. After 2 episodes, it was like, I'm disappointed, but I'm waiting for them to prove me wrong. And then after episode 4, I was like, I'm halfway through the show. They can't redeem this. Even if they do a bunch of great episodes, the first half of the season is going to have sucked in my eyes. And I do think, not to mince words, I think it fucking sucks. I think it's bad. Like, I don't know. I love the actors, and I don't want to insult the creatives who worked hard on it. I definitely don't want to insult Charlie Cox. And if I ever am blessed to meet Charlie Cox one day, I hope he's never heard me say these words. But I'll lie right to his fucking face. No, I loved Born Again. Loved it. I think he's amazing.
Hell out.
So good as Daredevil. But I just don't like it. And it's because I love seasons 1 through 3. I love the character, and I love the performance. I love all that so much is why I think I have such disdain for this. And it's not just like I'm holding it so high up on a pedestal that I expect Born Again to be perfect. It's like Born Again just pays no respect to what came before it in my eyes. And they're not doing a great job of storytelling. You've talked a lot about how they're not giving good payoffs, and it's frustrating to watch. And then it's also frustrating to talk about it and have nobody see your side. Like, I feel like you said, the overwhelming majority of the comments have been so against me, and I'm glad that they support the show, but like, let's like be reasonable here, guys. Like, this is not the quality that we should get. Like, I just today was at work genuinely getting like sad that, because I saw an edit of Foggy and Matt, and I was like, it saddens me that this show didn't capitalize on their opportunity, not just to come back, but if you're, spoiler alert for Daredevil Born Again, forward, everything's gonna be spoilers. But just not capitalizing on the death of Foggy. If you're going to kill one of my favorite characters, one of the most important characters in the story, then make it impactful. And I get that he quit being Daredevil, but he said in the trailer that a line was crossed. So he tried to kill Bullseye because he was upset. The reason for him quitting should be that when he was about to go and put on the costume that last time, Foggy said, I didn't want to give you an excuse. His best friend didn't want him to be Daredevil. He did it anyway. And then, cause and effect, his best friend died because of it. That should be why he quit. And we should be getting scenes where Matt is like talking to someone, fill in somebody else for Father Lantham, because he used to have these really impactful conversations with Father Lantham, and he's unfortunately died in season 3 of Daredevil. But he should be in beautiful churches, getting excellent shots in incredible scenery, talking to someone, confessional or not, saying like or even talking to Punisher saying like, you want to be back in that suit. And he's like, my decision to be back in that suit, put him in the ground. Like, I can't disrespect Foggy by going back to that life. I want to, but I can't. Like, that, the emotionality of that conversation, got you again, Jay. I said the word emotionality. It's one of our comments. But that, I can just picture such a good conversation in my mind that hasn't happened in the show, where Matt's like teary-eyed saying like, he didn't want me to be Daredevil. He wanted me to stop. You know, that's his best friend in the world. I don't know. That feels like a missed opportunity to me.
Yeah, they jumped what, like a year later after that
We didn't get to
event?
see any of the impact of it.
Yeah,
We didn't get to see
and
Foggy.
now he's
Nothing.
like, he's kind of over it in a way. He's dealt with the trauma by burying it deep inside of him, and we've seen it like kind of slip out a little bit, but we haven't really seen him like working through that trauma at all, other than like maybe a one-off conversation with his therapist girlfriend. But other than that, like Foggy isn't really brought up at all. Like you said, like if, like you're right, like if they are gonna kill him, all right, let's make the season about it.
Yeah. Dude, that conversation in season 1 of Nelson versus Murdoch, when that was in the clip I was talking about, Foggy says, or I think Matt says, I need to be out there. Like, the city needs me. And then Foggy's like, I only ever needed my friend. And Foggy's crying, dude. Like, their bond and their friendship is so integral to the development of the story of the original show. It doesn't feel like they respected that when they wrote this new show. Like, that conversation is so emotional, and I'm not feeling them hit those chords.
Yeah, I think they've done like a good job of setting things up. But like you said earlier, that I'm like disappointed that they're not like delivering on any of these things that they were setting up. Like in the first episode, they set up that Daredevil's willing to kill now, and now he's gonna have to go through, but he's gonna have to process that. And what does that mean for him as a person, by crossing the line that he's drawn for himself? And then episode 2, we skip a year. And then at the end of episode 2, it seemed like he killed again. I thought he killed those cops.
Do you remember
But
when
he didn't.
in Spider-Man No Way Home, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man's like, I stopped pulling my punches. Like, I got brutal.
Yeah.
That would have been cool to see if Foggy was going to die, and we saw Daredevil on a bender. Yeah. Then you could have put on the black suit a little bit early and have like this darker version of Daredevil. I saw a comic panel the other day where Spider-Man tells Daredevil, he's like, be careful of those black suit phases. They can really do a number on you. Like, that would have been cool to get in this season, you know?
Yeah.
And to have Daredevil be born again, like ask for forgiveness and try to be who he was, like be the more altruistic version of himself again, the journey back, but he's still Daredevil the whole time. It's not him being born again,
but he's
not to Daredevil.
But he's not Daredevil because he's willing to cross the line.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, then that's like he's coming back to who he was instead of we're just getting Matt Murdock the whole time.
Yeah, but Andrew, I don't know if you know, there's more than just the suit and tights of the character Daredevil. It's also Matt Murdock.
Bullshit.
He is a lawyer. He is a person, and he has to deal with his emotions.
If Matt was going to be just Matt Murdock and be a lawyer, then either a different group of people would watch the show or nobody would watch the show because it's not as interesting. We have plenty of
this isn't Suits.
Yeah, this isn't what we signed up for with Daredevil.
We got a comment on the TikTok that I posted today where I was talking about the first 7 episodes and how I was kind of on board I was on board for the first 4 episodes. I was like, all right, they're leading to something. Let's see if it pays off. Well, then episode 5 didn't pay off, and that's where I was like out, right?
I think you said before it came out that if they don't put him in the suit in that episode, then you were going to have a problem and not be able to defend it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. We were talking about that in the garage when we were working out, and it didn't happen. I was like, there's no way that he doesn't get in the suit, because they just showed him going on the rooftop and training again. And they showed us all his suit helmets.
Well, this is how I feel about Foggy dying, because I've seen so many of our comments saying Foggy's going to be back in season 2. Don't worry. There's a comic where Foggy dies, fake dies, and goes into witness protection or whatever. But that would be like thematically undercutting the plot of the show, because so much of the point of season 1 happened because Foggy died. And now if you undo that in season 2, then you're taking all the stakes away from Born Again.
You're taking away all the development.
Yeah, and when people go back and watch that season, it kills the rewatchability, because you're like, oh, no, Foggy's alive the whole time.
Yeah.
But I think people are saying that he's confirmed. I haven't seen this. People are saying that he's confirmed for season 2. I'm hoping it's just flashbacks, because I feel like that would really damage the storyline, what little remains of the storyline for me.
I don't know. But that comment that I was saying that we got was, there's more to Spider-Man than just the guy in the suit. That kind of that saying where Iron Man's like, you got to be more than the suit.
But the guy in the suit is what makes him interesting, right?
Yeah. And I commented, like, I've never wanted to watch a movie about Peter Parker. Have you? Like, you're lying to yourself if you have. Like, what movie is that? A nerd, gets beaten up, but he's really smart. He's a little awkward. He takes pictures with his camera, and then maybe gets the girl, maybe not, because he's not Spider-Man.
There are movies where it's like a coming of age story about a kid in high school, but it's a totally different movie with a different audience. Yeah, the audience might overlap, but it's not the same audience that signed up to watch Spider-Man. It's a totally different story.
Like, why does everyone know Peter Parker's name in our world?
Because he's Spider-Man.
Because he's Spider-Man.
What is the name of the movie? Is it Peter Parker? No. The name of the movie is Spider-Man. Same thing with Daredevil. That's what I said to one of our commenters too. They were like, oh, Matt Murdock and Daredevil are the same. It's like, but the name of it is Daredevil, right? Because like Daredevil is why we came to watch the story.
But maybe the name is could be Matt Murdock, occasionally Daredevil.
Matt Murdock, attorneys at law.
What was my next point?
You were complaining at one point about the different villains, like that it's not
okay. Yeah,
that's something worth talking about. Is that the way that they set up Muse, and then how it didn't feel like it had a good payoff. The overall season doesn't feel like it has an overarching villain.
Like, they have good setups, and then they don't deliver on it. Like you said with Muse.
Also, Bullseye. I was convinced Bullseye was going to be in way more of this season when I saw the trailer.
And Punisher.
Yeah, he's only been in one scene.
We've had one scene, and that was 3 episodes ago at this point.
Why'd you show them all to us in the trailer? It would have been, at this point, more valuable to have a shock and awe cameo that was exciting, instead of to have them shown in the trailer to have such a small role.
Because right now, they are legitimately cameos. They're not characters in this show.
I was thinking that the main villain of the season was going to be the cops taking on the Punisher persona, and that he would have to team up with Punisher again to stop the corruption in the New York Police Department. But that has been such a background thing for the last 3 episodes.
Yeah. It's kind of like this series is episodic.
It feels like it. It feels disjointed.
Yeah.
I think I've had comments, people agreeing with that too, and people take our side at this point, saying it doesn't feel like a continuous overarching story, which the original series
we had
did a good
Foggy's
job.
death, and then we had the cops, and then Wilson Fisk getting into office.
The Hector Ayala arc was 2 or 3 episodes.
And then Hector, but it was really just 1.
Yeah, but then the Muse arc was 2 episodes, so it's it might be 1 or 2 episodes.
Well, it was the Hector courtroom scene, and then the next episode was that weird we're talking about this guy who stole something, and they spent a lot of time on that guy, which I guess shows how the system's corrupt and stuff. But we're backtracking here. We're talking about,
what did that have to do with anything?
Framing murder, and then we go to petty theft.
And what did that have to do with anything in the overall story?
It just shows it's to show that the system of the cops and stuff is corrupt. Yeah. But it would have been better to start with that, go into the White Tiger stuff.
Yeah.
But then then we had the bank robbery, and then the next episode was Muse. And then he's gone. But
in season 1 of the Netflix series, they had the tenement case. They were fighting against Armand Tully, trying to push people out of their houses in Hell's Kitchen. that was like deeply connected to the rest of the story. You might not notice it as well on a very first watch of the show, but when you go back, it's like right off the bat, they're in like a Union Allied scandal.
Right.
Union Allied is owned by Wilson Fisk. And then Wesley shows up to their door and brings them a case, you know, and Wesley is the lieutenant of Wilson. It's like everything is so interconnected in a beautifully written tapestry in season one. And it just, here it feels like we take 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Dude, no, we take 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
Yeah.
Because like White Tiger dies, big shock. And then what is 40 minutes of that next episode? Petty theft.
And then
it's like,
everyone in the story feels so unintelligent as well. Like them having the new White Tiger, what's her name? Hector Ellis' daughter. She like goes into a subway terminal where she expects a serial killer to be, who has like 60 victims, and she literally looks like she weighs 80 pounds. Like she looks like she's 4'2". She looks so small. And I'm like, you are like looking like the most foolish person in a horror movie right now. You look like you are begging to be murdered by a serial killer. Why are you? I get that you're frustrated, but what are you doing?
I thought originally that she had the little
the amulet. That would have been better, more understandable, because she's only supposed to take on the mantle in the comics.
That's what I thought was. But I've realized anytime I think something with this show, I'm wrong.
When you have an expectation for something cool to happen,
I'm wrong. Yeah.
Muse in the comics is also supposed to have an Inhumans power. Like the Inhumans are like, I think, mutants in the vein of the X-Men. He is supposed to have a power where Daredevil can't sense him. And that does not exist, obviously, because he's already been killed.
Well, Daredevil can apparently see his paintings.
Dude, one of the stupidest things in the last episode was that they use facial recognition from a goddamn finger painting to find out where the therapist or who the therapist was that was being drawn by Muse. Facial recognition from that?
Like Daredevil did that too.
He felt it, touched it with his hand.
I was like,
I know who that is.
That's ridiculous.
Dude, his drawing was not that good. Better than I could do, but
no, it did look like her. But
facial recognition?
You can't like feel it and be like, oh my gosh, I remember feeling her face. Like, what?
And they also had to show us the shot of him feeling her face too, to like connect us back to that. But facial recognition is like, I feel like such temperamental software. Even with a picture of a person's face, you can get it wrong. A finger painting is not going to give you a 100% accurate. Like, New York is like the most population dense city in the entire world, and you tell me that they're like, this is who it is.
I don't know, just shown it to Fisk, and Fisk would have been like, that's my therapist.
They could have just put a picture of her in there. Like he stalked her and took a picture and used an actual picture for that. And then Fisk also is like crazy involved in this serial killer case. He's the mayor of New York City, and everything in the city is apparently going through him. Like sanitation comes directly to talk to him when they find out there's blood mixed in the paint. They're like, I know who this should go to. The mayor, not the detectives or the police commissioner, directly to the mayor. Like, how does he have time to be involved in every single thing in the city? They're bringing every update from this case. Detective Kim is coming to him with individual updates. Like, doesn't he have more on his plate? That's not how like a hierarchy works. You'd have to go through the police commissioner to communicate to him.
Look, I don't know if I can really comment on that. I don't know what a mayor does.
Like, you think he has time to talk, to all these people? Like, it's just crazy. He's stepping into the crime scenes. Like the mayor's going to be boots on the ground in all these crime scenes.
Yeah, I don't know. I had that point that I wanted to bring up, or a question to ask you, and I can't remember what it was.
It'll come to you after we wrap.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just getting really frustrated. I'm trying not to like repeat my complaints from the past episode, because if you want, you can go back and watch my solo episode that came out last week. I had a lot of complaints about like them promising the characters would come back, and then they ended up not really being in the show, him not being in the suit for more than 10 minutes in 7 episodes. Like, have a lot of complaints, and I don't want to just rehash them all. So
I remember what I was going to say. In the original series, you know, Daredevil at certain points is like, I'm not being Daredevil anymore, you know, or like he goes through like ups and downs. Maybe he's injured for a period of time, and people seem to think that he doesn't suit up for a number of episodes. You just rewatched all 3 seasons. I rewatched like the first season and into season 2 right before this. Like, I don't remember an episode that he doesn't suit up at least once.
I guarantee you he's Daredevil in every single episode. And people like to say, yeah, but he only put on the costume at the end of season 1. He's wearing a different version of the costume.
He was going out and fighting crime.
Frank Miller draws him in the black suit in like the Man Without Fear comics.
Yeah.
Like the Man with No Fear, whatever it's called. And he's just wearing a different version of the costume. The black suit is honestly a cooler costume. But the suit, I think, the red suit, the second iteration in season 2, when he puts on the new red suit halfway through that season, I think is better than the suit he's wearing now.
Really?
Always looks better. He always looks better than he looks now. But
I like his suit now.
I'm serious. Like every episode, he's in like the second scene of the first episode. He's right away in the Daredevil suit. Yeah. Even when he's injured, he like gets up and fights. There's an episode I was just trying to think of where like a lot of the episode he's not in the suit. Maybe in Nelson v. Murdoch, he's not really in the suit. But there's at least, I know, one flashback in that episode where he fights the guy at the train tracks because that's his first instance of going out as Daredevil. So even in that episode where he's arguing with Foggy the whole time about not being Daredevil, he's super injured from the Nobu fight. He still dresses up as Daredevil in that episode. So like in a flashback.
Yeah.
So they're always giving us something. And then like season 3, episode 1, he's injured from the Defenders, but he's training, he's working out, and then he fights. They like bring in this boxer, and he's like, I'm not going to fight a blind guy. But then Daredevil fights him. And I think even by the end of that episode is when he goes and fights the guys who are trying to kidnap the people in the dry cleaning business van.
Oh, you mean set up and deliver?
Yeah. They like in that episode, and that leads to more stuff. That people he's fighting there, he like investigates them further, and they lead to more stuff further into the plot. But like even in that one episode where he's like, I'm done being Daredevil. By the end of that episode, fighting as Daredevil again.
Mm-hmm.
Every time.
Yeah. And we had a, 4-episode stretch without seeing him in the suit at all?
Yeah.
5 episodes?
5 episodes 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so 4 episodes. And then, let's be real, most of episode 1 and most of episode 6 as well.
Yeah.
So like, I looked at last 7 minutes of episode 6 is when he suits up, and only in the first 10 minutes of episode 1 of 50-minute episodes. So still majority of those 2 episodes where he did put the suit on, still not wearing it. And then when he puts it on and he's swinging on rooftops, it looks like CGI like shit. It looks terrible.
I don't think it looks terrible.
Really bad.
I don't think it looks really bad. I don't think it looks really bad.
I don't know what you were watching it on. Looked horrible.
I don't think it looked really bad.
It looked like the wide of him on the roof swinging around. That's some of the worst CGI I've seen in Marvel. It's like
definitely not.
Almost as bad as the Falcon and the Winter Soldier shots.
Definitely not.
And then when he's running down the subway tunnel towards Muse and he does that Billy Club pull towards him and like pulls at him in a straight line, looks so stupid.
That was not nearly as bad as you made it sound like it was going to be.
Really bad.
When I watched it. No, I don't think that's terrible. That was going to be my next question. So like, what do you think of the fights that we have gotten? Like, even not comparing them to the Daredevil original, because I don't think it's on the same level, right? But like, I'm still enjoying the fights. Like, I still think they're cool. I think they're well done. You know, I like the fight with Muse. It was a good fight.
I think the fights are the only parts where I start to enjoy the show.
Yeah.
There's like brief moments where they touch on something really cool. Like it was cool to see him talking with Frank Castle again. That's where I start to get like leaning forward in my seat. There's only a few moments. The scene where he's like in the bathroom with that corrupt cop, or when he's fights the cops at the end of episode 2 and he like stands in front of them. A few moments I can cherry pick out where I feel that Daredevil feeling again. And I think it's really just Charlie Cox like putting the weight of the show on his back in those moments when he's not dressed up as Daredevil. Now, when he's Daredevil fighting Muse, then it's like a lot of elements are pulling their weight, right? Like, you know, stunt choreography, camera work.
But
like,
do you like the fights?
I do. Yeah, I said I do.
Okay.
At the beginning of that, I was saying that like the fights are cool and they get cool shots in there. I don't think it's still as good because like I can notice the punches not hitting a little bit better than I could in the original series. Like there's 1 or 2 at the beginning of the Muse fight where I think it looks like there's a little bit of distance between them. I mean, that's nitpicky stuff, and you look like you're.
I think there's some punches like that in the original Daredevil.
Yeah, here and there, but I just think it's more.
I would say like just as frequently, maybe even slightly more, because they're like one takes and the camera's a lot more steady. Like I feel like I can see it a little
I think it's
more obvious
for
in
me.
those,
It's
but
for me the what's more noticeable about it is that there's so much less fighting in this show that when I do see something like that, when I do see a fight, I'm watching it a lot more closely because there's a lot more density of fighting in the previous show. So like if I have something to pick on, I'm like, oh, there's only been 16 punches in this show, and I thought 2 of them didn't look that great. Whereas if 10 punches didn't look that good in the Netflix series, it's out of 300 punches. So I like the shot in the Muse fight where he's like rolls over and the camera like rotates with him.
Yeah.
There's some really cool stuff in there. I also think it's kind of crazy that this guy had like one Taekwondo lesson when he was 16 and he's standing toe to toe with Daredevil for as long as he is. But he is kind of losing pretty fast, except for in the office scene. The office scene, he wasn't losing that fast.
Yeah.
In the subway tunnel, I feel like he got his ass handed to him.
He was still getting his butt whooped in the office too, but he was holding his own better for sure.
In the subway tunnel, Daredevil was tanking his punches and beating the shit out of him with relative ease.
Yeah. They maybe should have like kept him in classes a little longer.
I don't know if this fits that well, or I don't know if this is like a big how it's supposed to be, but like there's 2 shots where he like where Muse goes to stab his victims with a needle, and there's no needle on the syringe. And then like later in the crime scene, you can see a syringe. So like I don't know if that was just a mistake and they meant to add a needle in post and didn't, or what. But it's just a nub at the end of the shot in both the times when he injects his victims. I don't know how that would pierce deep enough to draw that much blood.
Like the big like tube thing that like the blood.
The end of the tube doesn't have a needle.
I didn't notice. I remember like he did something else with a needle first, and there was a needle.
It's a quick shot where he pulls it up like this, and there's no needle on it.
Suction.
But I think that fight, when the fights happen, like I said, that's when I lean forward and I'm like, oh, it feels like Daredevil again. Like Daredevil's kicking ass right now, and I like the fights. I do think they didn't let Daredevil win the fight with Muse. They had someone else win the fight and shoot him. And like,
which good shock value, but then once it's gone, it's like, oh, well, now the bad guy that I thought was the bad guy is like a nobody.
Also, everyone in the show just feels so stupid. Like she clearly knows he's Muse for so long in that conversation, and also like, I don't know. Was there anybody outside that heard her get slammed into the wall? Like, I guess the cops were already on their way there, so it doesn't really make a difference. But also, Matt's always out in daytime. Why do they do everything in daytime in this show? He comes swinging through the window, and it's like bright ass day outside.
Who goes to therapy in the middle of the night?
It could be an afternoon session. Wilson Fisk seems like he's there in the afternoon.
Well, that's when Wilson Fisk is.
I just want to like.
It doesn't double book, Andrew.
I want to see Daredevil at night. But that's only a gripe for one scene, though. I mean, I think the other scenes have been at night for Daredevil. Yeah, I like I said, I like the fights. The punches felt like they hit pretty hard. Seeing the brutality of him like stabbing the Billy Club into Muse's back and like ripping him back was cool. Really cool, impactful. They hit impactful
Pulling him
moments.
Across the ground. That was cool.
The fights move really quick. I like seeing Daredevil just eat punches from Muse. He just took them like and then fired back like the punches didn't even hurt.
Yeah. He wanted to feel that.
Yeah.
He's like, hit me. Hit me. I think this is a good place to kind of wrap up this episode, though. Keep it digestible, kind of like your episode last week. I'm curious to see what kind of comments we'll get on now that there's been like another episode. Are people fully on board with this show, or are people kind of slipping over to the skeptical side of like, hey, maybe they aren't delivering on kind of all the things that they're setting up, which is my problem.
They're going to tell us that Wilson Fisk is the big bad of the season, but there's been not a lot of correlation between Wilson Fisk and Matt Murdock.
Right. Other than their conversation that they had in the episode 2.
Wilson Fisk now knows that Daredevil's back and knows that Matt Murdock is Daredevil. So why doesn't he just stop him? Why doesn't he just tell everyone who he is?
Yeah.
What's he going to do to him now?
Is like, I don't know, is like Matt going to like tell everyone who Wilson Fisk is? I don't know. Like
the public already knows. He already went to prison for his crimes and they forgave him. So what does Matt have on him?
Yeah, I don't know.
Doesn't make any sense narratively. There's nowhere to go from here.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of the show as a whole, as the storytelling? It's funny because on some of my comments that I keep getting is like, hey, like a show can be good without just fight scenes, you know, like you got to care about the story. And I was like, bro, did you even watch the video that I just posted? I was saying that the story isn't like cohesive and that like, yeah, there's fights and they're good, but they're not as good as the fights in the original show. It's like, ugh, I'm talking about the story.
As soon as you want there to be action in an action show, people are like, okay, meathead. It's like, I'm not watching Grey's Anatomy. Like, that's a good show, but it's a different category, different genre.
Right.
I go to that show.
Social Network.
Yeah, I go to that show and I'm like, okay, Grey's Anatomy is going to have doctors and medical drama and relationship drama. I go to Daredevil and I expect there to be action.
No. He's a lawyer. Say it with me.
Lawyer. When they call him to the stand, they're like, Mr. Daredevil, would you care to come up and defend your client?
All right. But yeah, we post new full episodes every Monday and Thursday. So make sure you hit that subscription button and notification bell so you don't miss any of our episodes. Every once in a while, we're throwing out extra ones. We're on every social media platform. And if you want to join in on the conversation even more on a deeper level, more personal level, you can check out our Discord, which is linked in the description of this video. Andrew, what's the Discord and how much does it cost to join?
Oh, the Discord is just amazing, wonderful, utopia.
Every morning I wake up, I'm like, what's going on in the Discord today? You know,
the Discord is it's the first thing you check in the morning, last thing you check at night. It's just like this awesome group chat. You download an app, or you can use it on your computer, and we all just get together as a group. Me and Aaron are on there, previous guests of the show, fans of the show, and we just talk about movies, TV shows, and comics, the same things we talk about here. But you can get advanced notice of these conversations too, which is fun. So sometimes we'll talk about topics like Daredevil in the latest episodes, what we think before we get to say our opinions on here. We do announcements sometimes of upcoming episodes to let you guys know what you'll see in advance. We do polls. It's just a whole lot of fun. We can talk about comics and trailers and all kinds of fun stuff. You should join in there, and we have a special discounted rate that we've been running ever since the Discord.
It's a born again. It's a born again rate. Yeah, we're starting over here just with the show Daredevil.
And with this special offer, you can get a price that is absolutely free. It is 100% free, always has been, and will be for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, so get in now.
Yeah, get in while you can.
While we can still see the future.
But it's a ton of fun, guys. So make sure you click on the link in the description below to join there. The link does expire, so just give us a comment or a DM if you need an updated link, and we'll invite you to join the Discord for free.
Thanks so much for watching, and
that's a wrap.